If there's a problem with anything in Agile, for instance, with which product to do, believe me, there is a technique already existing to solve it, and I'm going to talk about one of them. Before that, my name is Paweł Feliński, and there is a big mistake in the topic of my speech. I thought maybe I'm gonna, or I could have organized a competition. However, I've forgotten. So just to be clear, you cannot validate a hypothesis. You can more or less validate a ticket hypothesis to be verified. Please add 1 point to your points list from the morning, from the talk of Tomek, if you noticed it earlier before I told you about it. So it's snowing. Well, we don't know if it's snowing, right? We are in a closed environment, and actually what I said could have been considered a hypothesis. Any supposition that we make about the world, about our customers, our product, even our weather, that definitely is not true, that may be true, maybe not, could be considered a hypothesis. What we are doing with hypotheses, well, it depends on what we want. What we usually do is we assume something, all right? So we make a deal with ourselves. Okay, there is some uncertainty. We are not sure about it. Let's assume it's going to be like that. If we have too many assumptions, because I believe sometimes we need to assume something, but we have too many assumptions, then definitely we may create creepy products eventually. What we can do else? Well, we can create and formulate a proper hypothesis. So hypotheses. That's what we have. If we have some assumptions, those are our risks. Maybe not. Our assumption is wrong. If we have hypotheses, well, we can do something about it. Most likely, we would like to test them. So implement validated learning. The sooner, the better. And about a technique that we use for testing hypotheses, I would like to say a couple of words right now. The technique is called the test card, and it's coming from a company called Strategizer, the very same one who produce a lot of tools supporting businesses and products development, including very famous business model Canvas. Here how it looks like. So it's a piece of paper, A4, maybe A3 format, quite vertical, with a couple of fields. At the beginning, there was some admin stuff. What's the test you're going to have? Who is assigned to? What's the deadline? And so on. The most important part, the beginning of what we have, is what I called and what we call a hypothesis. So we believe that it's snowing. Maybe not. Secondly, okay, I have my hypothesis defined. I would like to do something about it. We need to verify it somehow. We need to test if it's snowing or not. What could it be? Well, going out, for instance, to see. Maybe checking online if we cannot afford going out. Maybe checking the weather, the current weather online. That's the test we're going to. To conduct. Having the test prepared, it's not enough. We'd like to have some metrics behind. How are we going to measure it? If it's snowing or not? Well, if this is a hail, so it's white but not snow. If it's snow with rain, does it count snowing or not? We need to figure out. When the metric is defined, finally we need to talk. What's the criteria to say it's snowing or not? I believe even if it's snowing outside, it's not snowing in the entire country, not in the entire world. What's our limitation? What's the criteria? If it's raining only next to this cinema, can we say it's snowing or not? All right? An example more from product development, not weather. A hypothesis. We believe that a support chatbot reduces cost of customer support. Let's assume we have a website. There are problems with the website, like usually, and people are calling. People are calling using traditional phone, mobile phone. We have staff, a lot of people in our call center that answers the cost. And it's a hypothesis, but if we have some artificial intelligence-based chatbot on our website, we would reduce the cost of this customer support. Now, it may take us a month, maybe 2 months to implement such a chatbot. So I wouldn't like actually to spend so much money if, because that's a hypothesis, if nobody cares about chatting. Maybe our customers are old-fashioned customers and they prefer calling. So how are we going to test this hypothesis? My example is as follows. To verify that, we will implement a simple chat window with a normal person behind that chat on our frequently asked questions page. We are not implementing the entire artificial intelligence-based chatbot, but a normal chat. And we're going to see, are people willing to chat or they're still calling? What would be the measurement? Not the smartest one, but that's what I thought about. We're going to measure a number of chats and a number of calls on our support line. I believe people will still be calling. I wonder if there's any correlation between those two numbers that would be our criteria. If we are right, if an average number of chats, of calls on our support line, will decrease by a number of chats that we have plus minus, let's say 10%. So if I see that people are calling less to our support line and we have more and more chats, I believe, yeah, maybe my hypothesis is verified. Maybe we are right. The entire test card would be like that. We have some extra information over here. How critical the hypothesis is in lean startup. We have some strategic hypotheses. For instance, the value hypothesis, the growth hypothesis. We better check them, especially if we are early in our business, if this is valid or this is false assumptions, false hypothesis. How about the test? How much would it cost? If it's something cheap to run, not so cheap, or very expensive. And on the other hand, the data, what we're going to discover is reliable. Perhaps the test we are creating is cheap, but actual information that we get not necessarily so smart. We need to be careful. We need to be careful about it. As like always, all the techniques have some pros and cons. What I see in here, first of all, using the test card gives you the full end-to-end flow. From thinking about the concept, from discovering maybe hidden assumptions, creating a hypothesis based on that, then preparing the test, executing it, and measuring it. Very often I've seen situations that somebody said, oh, that's a hypothesis, let's run an experiment. And after experiment is run, we think, okay, so we have results, now what? Is hypothesis true or false? Oh, we didn't think about it earlier. What would be the criteria? All right? Secondly, it's a one standard. If we have one product development, many products, maybe many hypotheses to test, we have one standard, one tool that supports us work with those hidden or not hidden revealed assumptions. What can go wrong? Well, obviously, the technique looks simple. It may give us very false sense of correctness. We think that we filled in this form, and that's it, we're right, while we might be really, really wrong because, as usually, all the details that does matter. But two situations, at least two common situations that I experience working with my customers that are quite often, and I find the problem simply using the test card. So the first one, let's introduce a bit different product. We believe that your friends also read feature increases books sales. If we have an e-commerce online library, online bookshop, and we are selling you the books, I think if we introduce a feature that I see what my friends read, sales would increase. It's not a very easy feature to implement, right? I need to have connection with my friends on Facebook, maybe Twitter, maybe LinkedIn. I need to track somehow on our platform what they read, and I need to somehow recommend it during my or user's visit to the shop. That's pretty difficult. So a test cannot be just implemented because we may spend 2-3 months on that. The test could be like that. To verify that, we will implement top recommended books. It's easy, right? I can show top 5 books that everybody recommends to everybody, and if user considers as, oh, I'm going to click it, I'm going to buy it in addition, that would mean that the test, the hypothesis is true. The problem that we see here is that test actually doesn't verify the hypothesis. We wanted to make it simple, and it will verify something definitely, however, not necessarily what we are thinking about. If, for instance, a lot of people really buys instead of just a book that they are thinking of, also the recommended one, doesn't necessarily mean that they would care or not about opinion of their friends. Even if we verify this hypothesis, that doesn't mean it's really how customers behave. The second problem very often seen on another product. We believe that our customers want customized software. Quite nice hypothesis. Yeah? So we are producing software, but we think that just configuration of it, it's maybe not enough. Maybe we need to add something more for our customers. So we created the hypothesis, our customers want customized software. How are we going to check it? Well, we're going to ask them. Yeah? We're going to conduct a set of interviews. Maybe we're going to observe them during work, but interviews are better, there's interaction. We can ask a lot of questions that try to find out their opinion, what are emotions that are related to the product or to the idea of customized software. The problem is, I invited 5, 10 customers out of my target group. I conducted the interviews, I gathered the data. Does it mean my hypothesis is verified? Well, not necessarily. I can invite another 10 customers from the same target group and the opinion might be completely different. If we are not performing an experiment on people, on users, or if we are not performing any statistical test, quantitative test, that would mean our hypothesis might not be verified. We can have false positive information, and if we really implement the product, the full solution based on that, we may lose a lot of money. There is a general saying, a proverb that says, any technique can be done wrong, and this is one of the cases. You need to think about each field of the test card to really, and we really need to be careful to really assure that the technique supports us, not just hides our concern. There's another technique of the strategizer called a learning card. I recommend it if you are keen on more qualitative data, like interviews, like observations. This card states, okay, we have a hypothesis, but actually we're not going to test it. We're going to go to users, talk to users, we're going to conduct a few interviews. Based on that, we will have some observations. Maybe it will help us create a good test if we have no idea earlier what the test should be. It's not yet the verification or falsification of our hypothesis. Thank you very much. I wish you good luck with those techniques. If you need me, I'm here. I'm also available on the break and online. Thank you.